All right, so before we get started, would you state your name and what you do for Pray for the Gods for the record for me?
So my name is Parnell, and my role, or title, is director. Okay. But I do a lot of all the art, design, bosses, and all that, story, the biz dev. I don't touch code, no way.
So what's your biggest point of inspiration, aside from, nobody really making anything like Shadow of the Colossus since Shadow of the Colossus?
So, for us, is when we started this project, we were working in sort of mobile games. We had come from traditional games and thought we could bring more to mobile, and realized pretty quickly that just wasn't going to work for us. And so for us, we wanted to make a game that spoke to what we wanted to do, and if we could become an independent studio. And a lot of that was sort of overcoming impossible odds and basically making, in some ways, kind of the anti-social game. So with this game, you're basically a sole protagonist against large, massive bosses, right? And you're left alone on this island, and that's about as antisocial as you can get.
One of the things that I noticed is we go through a little tutorial area, and it does have a lot of exploration elements. Now, while Shadow of the Colossus was a great game and beautifully done artistically, I always thought it could use more exploration. So what are you guys doing to do more than just fighting the monsters?
That's one of the things we looked at, right, when we started making this game was, first, let's get boss climbing down, right? That's key. But we also looked at the open world, and it had been well over close to 10 years, I think, or about that point, and open world games had come pretty far. And so we actually were inspired by games like DayZ at the time, and since then, obviously, we've been inspired by more games, but we really wanted to create the sense of tension and dread, but as well the sense of atmosphere that we found even in DayZ. I know it sounds weird, but I really felt a sense of place in that world. So what we wanted to do is create a sense of exploration and constant discovery within the game. So by building the world where you're kind of coming around corners and things and seeing new crazy points of interest that draw and lead you there. Part of that is going into caves, there's puzzles that unlock outfits, but there's also weird lore, paintings, the stuff for you to interpret and try to figure out what's going on. One
of the things that I really enjoyed about Shadow of the Colossus was once you beat it, you got speedrun options and boss rush modes. Are you guys thinking about including any of that?
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons why we're in early access. So we hit our 5 boss. That's when we did our Kickstarter, was we're going to do 5 bosses. We had stretch goals for 3, which we didn't hit, and there's a lot of features and modes that we wanted to add. So we felt like instead of just throwing the game out there, if we just spent a little more time in early access, we could polish up some of the game, add those 3 extra bosses, and as well get in those features and modes that really our fan base are going to want. And one of those is obviously a time type mode or replay mode. Currently it's called Echo mode. We put it in a month ago or so, and we're preparing to make that a timed mode, as we have even in our Discord a speedrun channel of people who want to speedrun and learn how to play the game in that method. So we're definitely looking to add that, and maybe a camera mode. That seems to be something that people really look for. So that, and then I think I was hoping to do a permadeath mode. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but I like the game in the sense of, like I said before, impossible odds and taking on things that seem really hard. And Tim has a brutal mode literally on his local machine that we're testing to see there is a core group of people that really like it hard. And so, although permadeath may be acceptable on something you would checkbox on easy, you checkbox on normal, because we don't want to make it as accessible to everybody. But yeah, those are some of the modes we're considering.
Now there are some some survival elements. You have heat. There's I think a food meter. Yep. And including the accessibility, is there a way you can turn those off if you're not really into that type of play?
So, that's something that we go back and forth with. If we turn off cold in a game where it's all about cold, we feel like that's actually doing a disservice to the game and to the player. But we are, at least listening to our player base in the sense that, survival is, for us, isn't a bad thing. And the way we look at it is we looked at easy, normal, hard, and legendary, and in our feedback that we were getting from players, hard and legendary wanted more. They were literally telling us, this is awesome, we love it. Really normal and easy, we're kind of I'm not crazy about this, it's frustrating. And so we looked at look, it's just that if we shift this to be more of a boost option and not something that's detrimental to the player, it's totally in their wheelhouse to eat if they want or not. Food does not kill you. You will not die from starving in this game. Even in hard modes, it doesn't work that way. Our food is literally a boost system for stamina. So the more you eat, the faster your stamina regenerates.
But there's a base rate for your stamina.
Yeah, and that base rate is actually pretty good in normal and easy, and in hard and legendary, it will actually slow. And so obviously people who play hard and legendary actually enjoy that. And so we looked at that, and the minute we implemented that and made that tweak, our in-game feedback was love it, best game ever, awesome, oh my God. And we're okay, and it was mostly people playing normal, who I think just want that experience to be a little less tense or a little less, they feel like they don't want to manage it. And it's like, it's not detrimental. It's literally, if you decided to want to hunt something and cook it, it's in your best interest. We also have just health potions that if someone doesn't like a health potion, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's a game thing. But even on the bosses, though, when you finish those sigils, basically it gives you back heat, it gives you back health, and it will keep you going as long as you're progressing on the boss. So if you don't bring any items, but you're able to be successful on the boss, you will regain and be able to stay in the fight longer.
Now, I did see a lot of different weapon options and tool options. What role does things like the swords, the bows, what all does that kind of play in the gameplay? Because you're not stabbing, you're using the sigils on all the bosses, right?
Yeah, so for swords, and the way I came at the game originally was I wanted you to start with nothing and be able to finish with nothing. So the idea, like I said, impossible odds. Like, how do you take this thing on without any weapon, right? And by that theory, if you have a sword and we have consumable weapons, right? Metal gets weak and cold, right? So like swords break, you can repair them, but the idea is really swords are there to help you against the minions that are within the world and the mini bosses and stuff. However, bow and arrows and grapple hooks and swords can help you on these bosses by maybe revealing ways to get onto them and also help you in that. But we didn't want you stabbing the heels and the toes of these bosses, because that's what you'd be doing. And it just seemed to be conflicting with sort of the gameplay we were trying to present.
And then you guys are looking at hopefully like Q2 of 2020 for PS4 and Xbox One and full PC release?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to having the game be putting our best foot forward with the game. I mean, I think for us, we were really excited to get the game just out at first. Being in beta was cool, getting feedback, but being in early access has been phenomenal for us to get even more feedback. There's a lot of people waiting for this game that were backers for console, and they've been incredibly patient, and we really want to make sure that when they get it, they get the best that we can give them. And for us, as a small team, we're able to do that. We don't have a huge overhead. We can run pretty lean and mean. And because of that, what I want to do is basically give them what I really wanted in the Kickstarter was, the 8 bosses, big ending, as many features as we can get. And so we feel like by Q2 2020, like that will be there. I mean, we're already running on PS4, we have it, we're just getting the frame rates. And the cool thing is optimizing it for consoles while we're in PC. Our mid-spec and low-spec PC gamers are getting huge boosts in optimization. So, it's really a win-win.
Do you have any other closing thoughts for either of my communities? We do a lot of like retro things, spiritual revivals, deep developer dives, and then what are some of the ways that people can really continue that interaction? Because it sounds to me like if you want to really like fine-tune it and provide feedback, the early access still is a good option.
Yeah, I would say like for anybody that's ever wanted to be a part of a game like this instead of just be a consumer of it, early access is going to be a great way for them to join, or they can just jump into our Discord if they want. I mean, we have our social channels, but our Discord, we're in there every day. So that's discord.gg/prayforthegods. But I mean, early access, we do have a button within the game that you can click and say in-game give feedback and say, hey, this is a bug or this is just feedback. And you can say, I love it. Or you can say, I hate it. And it just takes a screenshot of what we see. So if it's a bug, we can at least see what it is, and a save file so we know where you were when it happened, and that's about it. So for us, we just scroll through that, and that helps us sort of prioritize our backlog of tasks that we want to do. And in some ways, it helps us think and rethink current designs that we're working on.